Your typical podcast. Thank you for listening to Your Typical Podcast. It's Donnie back again, and I'm here with Amber from Emo Homies podcast. Is that the podcast name, right? Emo Homies.
Yep, Emo Homies.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to collaborate with you and just talk about things. I always like to start like I have a bunch of guests on the podcast, so I guess like it's always nice to say like how you got here, what brought you to Your Typical Podcast.
Yeah, so we have a mutual friend. We have Mikey, and I listened to Mikey's podcast episode when it came out, and then I really like your style because, like we were talking before, I think we have a really similar style when it comes to podcasting, like very conversational, very organic. After editing podcast all day, I don't always listen to other people's podcast, but I've been
Mm-hmm.
listening to yours, and I just really,
Aw.
it's like entertaining, and I love it. And then when I saw that you were accepting, like, collaborators and guests, and I was like, "Oh, like, that'd be fun to, like, be on someone else's podcast and, like, be the
Mhm.
interviewee instead of the interviewer." And, I asked Mikey if I should do it, and she said yes. So that's when I sent the little application, and then you emailed me, so I was super excited to be here today. I've been looking forward to this, like, all week, like, super excited.
Oh, thank you for spending your day off with me. I was like, oh, because originally when you said that, I was like, oh, if you don't want to do it that day, we can find a small window of time. But
Oh,
this worked best for me too, so I love it. Wait, how did you meet Mikey?
so Mikey I met Mikey through my ex. Me and my ex were, like, we're homies still, but,
Mhm.
I'll never forget the day I met Mikey because me and my ex weren't even dating yet. We were, like, kind of, like, it was right before we started dating. Afterwards, when I was talking to Mikey about it, she's like, "I literally thought you guys were already dating because of how he talked about you." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's kind of cute." But no, we weren't
Yeah.
dating yet. But we went to Up Down, in Milwaukee, the arcade bar, and then I'm super shy in, like, real life, and I was just kinda awkward because it was, like, me, my ex, and then Mikey and then some other people, but Mikey was, like, really putting a lot of effort into talking to me and getting to know me, and I just really appreciated that because I felt so awkward and I never know what to say when meeting new people. It was nice because she was like, "What's your sign?" So we were talking about, like, astrology and stuff. So cute.
Yeah, Mikey loves the astrology talk. I met Mikey all the way back like the first day of high school. So it was 2010. Which is crazy because it's 2015, so 15 years ago at this point. And we've been friends ever since. I think we, like, have been, like, ebb and flow where we're, like, super close, and then we're not as close, and then we're super close. And then I recently well, not recently, 5 years ago, I moved to Chicago, so it's been, like, a little bit of a difference because I lived in Milwaukee before, but I love Mikey. Mikey is great. Any recommendations that come from her, I'm usually like, "Of course." And I did feel bad, sorry for making you wait a little bit. I, like, sent out the form, but I don't know if you do this, but what I do is I usually bank a lot of episodes. So, like, we're filming this one. I don't know when this one's gonna come out because I already have the next 3 episodes filmed and ready to go. So then I'm like, "Okay, well, this one I'm filming, then I'm filming one tomorrow," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I want a list that I could go back to once I'm ready to like start reaching out to people to like schedule dates yet, but I also don't want to overwhelm myself with being like, I'm doing one every day. Sorry guys, it's gonna be 7 weeks before this comes out. But I'm like, no, I wanna just wanna breathe. I wanna do it as it flows and like comes. So thank you for being patient. But again, I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, no, I get that. I try to bank episodes, but I'm not sometimes I just hope and pray, and then usually content comes and finds me, or I mean, I find it, but yeah, I like banking the episodes too, so I know I totally get it.
Well, I was just listening to your episode about Star Student, and they found
Yes,
you.
yes.
That's pretty cool. I love that.
I also love that. That is one of my favorite interviews, honestly. They were so fun to interview, and they're from Chicago and Detroit, so a little bit
Mhm.
outside because I do a lot of, like, Milwaukee local artists. So when they found me, I was like, "How did you find me?" And then they're like, "Google," and I was like, "Oh my gosh." They were like, "We just Googled DIY podcast, like emo podcast, and you were the first one that showed up." So, yeah, that was That's one of my favorite episodes, I think. They were just so fun and so sweet.
No, they seem I even followed them on Instagram after. I was like, "You guys."
They are
So
so cool.
yeah, they seem like a nice like even the fact that they took the end of episode to be like, your queer fans need you right now and blah blah blah. It's like, oh, that's I like that.
Yes.
So tell me more about you in general. Like obviously, like we don't know anything about each other at all. Besides, we both have podcasts. I know you live in Milwaukee. I'm assuming.
Yeah, kind of. I live in Racine right now,
Yeah.
but I'm a Milwaukee native, like born and raised, and will eventually go back, but just right now I have to live in Racine.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay. And then I'm assuming you went to high school in Milwaukee. I'm 29, by the way.
Okay. Good. Yes, I went to Wisconsin Lutheran High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know people who went there. I just can't think of them right now. Fun fact was about Wisconsin Lutheran. They had this Heroes for Health camp over like the summer every year during high school. So I went to their camp every summer.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't even know they did that. I was,
Mhm.
like, very outside of the loop when it came to everything.
Well, I really wanted to be randomly a nurse. I'm like, I want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor. One of those two things. So it was like my way of like, well, once I start doing this, it'll be easy. So when I go to college, they'll give me a scholarship to go. And they did give me a scholarship, but it wasn't enough. So I didn't go.
That's where I went to high school, and then, I went to college at UW Green Bay for human biology and Spanish, so I did that, and then I kinda keep my career a secret from the general public, so I
Yeah.
try to, like, keep it on the down low.
I went to college at Cardinal Stritch University in Milwaukee. Rest in peace. Does not exist anymore. It closed down. Uh, and obviously, I went to Milwaukee High School of the Arts with Mikey in high school. And then I moved to Chicago 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. It's like September will be 5 years. And then I currently work at a production company and we do live corporate events. But it's interesting because in college I was a theater and communications double major. So currently, like my job is kind of, I guess, similar. It feels similar. We all call it like business theater because it's a lot of corporate launches and namings and all these like things that I never heard of before I worked there. So I'm like, oh, this feels like I'm in the right field because a lot of people are like ex theater doers or ex actors or whatever. So that's me.
I love that. Yeah, so that's kind of me. I just podcast and then work my job, and I love podcasting. I also have a cat. Her name is Rook somewhere.
Rook, like chess.
Yes. I
I
did
like
not
that.
name her, that was just her name, and I didn't wanna confuse her by giving her a new name.
You're better than me because I have a dog. Her name is Luna. But when I first got her, her name was actually Star. And I just really didn't like that name.
Yeah.
I was like, it needs to change. I'm sorry. I can't call you Star. Like, that just feels like a weird name to call a dog. But I was like, I'll keep it in the same universe, I guess. But I'm like, okay, if I just start, I have to commit. I can't call her old name at all. And just Luna, she'll change. And she responds to Luna now 100%. But today is actually her 4 year gotcha day. I got her 4 years ago today. So
That's so good, I love that. Rook, I don't know, she just looks like a rook because she's black and white, and I'm like, "I can't imagine you having a different name, so I'm just gonna keep it."
honestly, sometimes the names fit pets.
Yeah.
Like this is your name. I wanted to ask you, so obviously you have your Emo Homies podcast. How did you start that podcast? When did you start it?
Okay, so I guess a little bit of context. So my best friend and I go to concerts like all the time. A little bit less now just because of work and growing up and life, but we would go to concerts all the time. And then it actually started out as a TikTok channel, the Emo Homies TikTok channel, and we would do concert reviews. But the issue was nobody watched our TikToks. Nobody cared. Like, I was like, "This isn't working." So we posted
Mhm.
the first TikTok in, like, March of 2022, and then I ended up moving to, like, Green Bay and, like, there's, like, a bunch of lore that happened in between. But then in September of 2023, I was like, or it might have been a little bit before then. It might have been, like, March of 2023 when I first had the idea of doing a podcast, and then Emily's like, "Yeah, like, that sounds fun." So then we finally got an episode out in September of 2023 of, like, talking about concerts and being emo and, like, just anything that we really wanted to talk about, but mostly concerts, and we did interviews eventually. So that's kinda how it started. It started off as TikTok, and then we transitioned to podcast because our TikToks were always, like, too long, I feel like. And TikTok is just, like, so hit or miss, I feel like, and I honestly hate making them. They're the worst.
Yeah, I've recently just tried to break out into, because I know a lot of people promote their podcasts on TikTok. I just am unsure how to effectively do that. Like, I'm like, do I make my own TikTok for the podcast? I'm like, well, at least I have followers. Like, no one's gonna follow my podcast. I don't know. So it's been like kind of like trying to figure that out. But that's cool. We have a similar story. I started in 2020. Just a few years before that, but me and my best friend also started the podcast together, and she, truthfully, and I only know this a little bit because I listened to some of your other podcasts, but it just became like a scheduling thing of like, we both can't really get on the same schedule to do this, and I think at a point recently, actually this year, it's like I think it makes sense for me to just kind of trudge forth by myself, and like obviously she's welcome to come on the podcast like whenever she wants to, but it just kind of works better when it's one schedule you have to kind of go by rather than two people, two schedules, and then if we want a guest it'd be like my schedule, her schedule, and the guest schedule. It's like too much to try to juggle. um
Yeah, yeah, it got a lot for Emily, I know, 'cause scheduling and life, and I was like, "Anytime you wanna come back, you're always welcome," and then she was like, and she, like, totally supports me interviewing bands and doing it by myself, so it was good. I miss her. I miss doing it together, of course, but it's been good by myself. Different, but good.
Emo Homies evolved from you reviewing concerts to inviting bands on to kind of interview them? Like, what was the jumping off point?
So I guess we always knew that we wanted to interview bands. We actually would there's a couple bands, still haven't interviewed them, really I gotta get them on one of these days. But we were like, "Hey, if we were to do this, would you wanna be on the show?" And then they were like, "Yeah, we're totally down for interviews all the time." And then that's what really, like, kicked us into gear into making the podcast, but then, like you said, scheduling can be, like, really hard, especially when it's 2 hosts and then the bands. But what really kind of catapulted the interviewing was last year's Take Me Back to Warped Tour, 'cause that's when I was like, "Okay, I need to get the bands on here, I need to, like, really hype up this event." So, that is what kind of really catapulted, and then after that, we started interviewing more bands, and then we also, like, interviewed one of the DIY venue. I did that one, and then once Emily left and is on her hiatus break, or I don't know if she's coming back, but, once she left, I was like, "Okay, I don't really wanna do it by myself." Like, I don't really like just talking by myself. So then I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna solely focus on interviews for now until she comes back or until I figure out." Mikey thinks I can, like, do the essays by myself, like, kind of like a video essay, but in a podcast, you know? And I can if I sat down and outlined everything, but then I would have to sit down and really, really outline because I'm a perfectionist, so
Mhm.
it takes me a long time to edit everything, which is why when people tell me, "Oh, I didn't know you edited," that I'm like, "Well, that's good that you can't tell that I edited, but also I take so long to edit."
Yeah. That's been like one thing for me where I think I've learned that like as much as I will want to be like, oh my God, this is a pretty product with no and taking out the dead space. It's too much work. Like when I first started your typical podcast, me and my friend, we were insane because she lived in Kentucky. I lived here in Chicago. And what we would do is so we hop on Zoom, but I will record myself in my room my part and she will record herself. So essentially, like at the end, we will have two different recordings, and Zoom was just our way to talk to each other. And then we will try to make sure we can sync our audios together. And that was so like legitimately like now I feel like I can crank the podcast out really once a week because I'm like, I'm not wasting time on like really editing, really going through chopping things up. I think there's something nice about just kinda having, like, this is it. So, like, I think that honestly alleviates the pressure for me and for the other person. But, yeah, when I used to have to edit, yeah, it'd be hard to even, like, try to get one out once a week, maybe sometimes, like, once every other week just because like, well, this one takes a lot of editing because there was a lot of things that went wrong. For some reason, your clicking of your radiator in the background got picked up here, and then well, we had to stop for 5 minutes because she had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't pause, but she paused her recording. And so then, like, okay, now ours are different lengths. How do we kind of figure that? And it was like too much. So I kind of like this now. Like, this is the product. Yeah, maybe I usually go in and add like some music, an intro, and everything, and in the beginning and the end, but really trying to keep it like true to how it felt in the room, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually just edit out dead space. I used to try to edit out all the ums and the buts and like but I've really cut down on that. So I'm really proud of myself for like not being so like perfection oriented that I'm like, okay, like there's no way I can edit this out. You're just gonna have to leave it in there. But I also do like intros and outros that I record, so then I have to like mash them all together usually.
And
So
it sounds like you do them separately, I'm assuming.
yeah.
Okay, that makes I think most podcasts do it like that. At first, like I thought about doing that. Like I used to like so this year specifically inviting new people on. I'm like Mikey's episode, for instance, like I had a whole like bio at the top that I just read. And like at first I'm like, maybe I should just record this on my own and then just be like, hey Mikey, welcome to the podcast. But then actually I thought it was funny because I messed up in it. And I was like, actually, this shows my personality. I am, if anything, imperfect. Great, it's fine. So I've been leaving that, but I've cut down on the intros and all of that, and more so leaving it for like the caption of the video, and then I do have an outro like that I put at the end of every episode, but it's just the same thing. So it's just when I go edit, I just go put it in. I did want to ask you, so how do you edit? Like I think it's really fun to collaborate with other podcasts because it's nice to share best practices. So like what do you use to edit for your podcast?
So I use Audacity, I think it's called. Yeah, I use Audacity to, like, cut out the dead space and everything. So I actually to save myself a little bit of time, I'll use Auphonic to take out any background noise. So I'll put it through the generator, and then it will take out the background noise, but then I edit out sometimes it doesn't always, like, work well, though. So, like, the one that I'm editing right now, actually, I don't know why I didn't just ask them to make sure that there was no music playing, but I didn't.
Mhm.
I was having an off day that day, and I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine, like, I'll be able to edit out the music." Turns out I can't, so I have to, like, mash my recordings together and, like, it's a whole thing, but usually because like, sometimes I usually record at, like, my job, and sometimes you hear, like, cars in the back, and, like, it will just take out, like, the car noises, and then I edit everything in Audacity, and then when I record, because usually when I'm at home, I can just record and there's, like, no background noise or anything, so then I can just record my intro and outro, and then sometimes when I'm recording, like, the intro and outro, though, I'll, like, say my intro, but then I'll be like, I'll hate it, you know? So I
Uh-huh.
keep talking, and then I usually, like, mash it all together in Audacity.
That sounds fun. I feel like I've heard of Audacity like way back in the day, but I think it was like something with school, but I don't remember exactly what it is. I use GarageBand. It sounds funny, like I edit my podcast on GarageBand, but I think it's easy because you can make multiple like voice, audio, music. You can make multiple lines. So you can easily layer them on top of each other and figure out exactly where they're going. So I really like that. And I felt familiar with how to use it. But like I said, it also came from like trial and error of like, this is the way I edit it. And it wasn't GarageBand before. This feels a little too difficult. Now, like, I'm like, okay, I feel like I have the formula down a little bit. Sorry, I'm very yawning today, if you guys can't tell. I just feel like it's the weather. It's just I need the sun. I'm missing it. And then like for instance, I'm toying around with maybe releasing a video for an upcoming podcast. So I tried to edit it on iMovie, and that didn't quite work, or at least it won't export the way I want it to. So I really want to just say fuck it and just get Adobe Premiere Plus. I feel like that's like the the premier way to edit videos, but it also costs money every month. So then I'm like, I know like people use Riverside, which is also another good way to edit videos. You can actually use Riverside as the host for your video. So like instead of Zoom, like we're using now, we can both join the Riverside and do that. That's another option. And just honestly, just kind of figuring out what works best for you specifically and what do you feel like you personally can do. So that, and it's kind of fun when it's like, okay, how do I edit this one? Oh, I have a video. And it's like I love the idea of a DIY podcast. 'Cause it's like, yeah, like a lot of people like I did a friend's podcast recently and her boyfriend like helps her with a lot, which is nothing against them. And I was like, can I borrow him for a few days? But I was like, actually, like it's so funny because people always ask, like, oh, I love your podcast. Like, how much work do you do? And I was like, well, I do everything. Like everything about the podcast is me, from getting people on the podcast to scheduling to recording. One thing I've loved to do is like make little graphics like for each podcast episode with the person's face. And like I found that to be like very fun for me, but also make people want to get excited about sharing the podcast with people there around and all of that. And I think figuring out who can be on the podcast, like kind of similar to what you said, like it's fun when people find you. And I think that's been a little, I have a little bit of that, but like most of my guests are outreach, like me asking them. So it's kind of like
Mhm.
what is the balance and like figuring out like all of those things just to create the perfect product. And I heard you say on the what did I what was their Star Student podcast where like it's just for you. You're just doing it for yourself. And like I resonated with that so much because I'm like, it's just for me. Like I just passed 500 streams this year on Spotify, I guess. So I'm like, yay, that's a lot. I feel like maybe, but also I have 50 episodes. So like maybe that's 10 listens per episode. And like it's a little like adjusted. Like I think altogether it's probably like 1,200 listens in total, which I want it to be more. Obviously, like I would love to like kind of get that listenership up, but also it's like I try not to look at the algorithms or the what do you call it
Like your step.
the stats because I'm like that's not why I'm doing it. And if I was doing it for stats, I would get very what is the word? Like I would get very I can't even think of the word, but I would feel the feeling that I would wanna do it anymore because
Yeah.
of the and I don't want that. I'm like, I just wanna do it because I wanna do it.
I get that completely. Cause yeah, I love just doing the podcast, and I honestly I like if I didn't have the podcast, I don't really know what I would do, you know? Cause I was always, like, super involved in school and stuff and, like, different orgs and stuff, and, like, now that I'm a grown up with a career, it's like, well, what can I do that's not work and not, like, just, like, resting and, like, self-care at home? Like, I need something else that's a little bit fun, to bring and I love concerts and I love music and I love hearing people's stories, so I'm like podcasting is it just brings me so much joy, so I'm like, I never want to do anything that is like I never want it to feel like a job. I want it to always
Yes.
be, like, something that's fun.
Hmm. No, I feel that because, like, in a way, like for me, what I get, just the art of, like, getting to know people better, and I think in a more specific way than I otherwise would, and that
Mhm.
is kind of fun for me, like, having Mikey on the podcast, and I've had really good friends, other friends, and I'm like, "Actually, we've never had these conversations," which feel exciting, like, I was at Mikey's book release, but I never got to ask her, like, "What was the inspiration around this?" Like, "How do you feel about the name of the book? How did you come up with it?" Like, what was like all these like steps that I feel like you don't really ask people that much because I mean obviously we're all busy and we're all doing our own thing, but that's kind of the fulfillment I get. So like I'm like, okay, if only my mom listens to this episode. Hi mom, like thanks for listening. But I still did it and it's still trucking along. And maybe one day I'll be like, it just takes one little episode that's like, okay, now all of my episodes are getting consumed. And maybe one day it won't, but who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It's a hobby that you enjoy doing. And that should be the reason you do it, not for views, not for money. It would be nice to get paid for it one day, but also, if I don't, whatever.
Exactly. That's how I feel exactly. And it's funny, my aunt listens to my podcast religiously, and then if I don't put out an episode, she'll be like, "Where is the Emo Homies episode?" And I'm like, "It's coming, it's coming." Like,
Hmm.
I promise. But she's so cute. So it's really nice that I have her because she does listen to it literally every I do it bi-weekly. Sorry. Um, I do it this is Brooke.
Rook, Rook, nice to see you.
She's on
So
the
cute.
table. Not like she oh, I don't care that she's on the table. Um Yeah, my aunt listens to it religiously. I do it bi-weekly because I do the editing and, like, just from work and everything, I can't, like n hopefully one day I can, like, achieve it weekly, but I'm not putting that pressure on myself just quite yet.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that's fair.
but yeah, so it's nice to have her.
So the one thing I like about your podcast is that like it seems like you focus specifically on like Midwest bands and stuff like that. What would you say like so again like I guess we already talked about like how it evolved from like just a concert perspective and then with your birthday show that we'll talk a little bit more about. Um, but what do you think makes Midwest bands like so special? Because I also like even looking at, like, the things you do, I'm like, it's kinda nostalgic. Fun fact, because I used to date someone in a band who was in a band in Milwaukee, and they played I mean, they said they made noise music. I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean, noise music?" And then I went to a concert, I was like, "Oh, I get it. I get what you're doing." But what do you think makes bands like that so special?
So, I love focusing on the Midwest because I feel like sorry, jeez. Okay. I actually so I feel like Midwest music is really special because I feel like we have like a special okay, I've only been context. I've only been to the concerts in Wisconsin. I'm trying to get out of here and like go to concerts in different states, especially like different Midwest states because I want to see the vibes. But I feel like especially in like Milwaukee, I've been to like shows, other shows not in Milwaukee, but Milwaukee especially, I feel like the vibes can just be immaculate here.
Mhm.
Because they might be lying when they say this, but a lot of shows I go to, they're like, "This is our favorite city to play." But I don't feel like they could be lying, I guess, but I don't feel like they would lie about that. Like, I feel like Milwaukee and, like, the Midwest, we just have, like, a really special, like it just feels special, and, like, the vibes are special, and, like, the community and I also love, like, local bands because all of the local Midwest bands I've ever interviewed, ever talked to, ever, like, really interacted with, they're not they're doing it just for the love of the game, and, like, if it happens to, like, get good and, like, if they get big from doing it for the love of the game, like, great, awesome, and they also, like, want to build up the community, like, they all support each other, I feel like, at least from, like,
Mhm.
my experience, and I think that's, like, also a really beautiful thing, and I feel like sometimes on, like, tours, a lot of artists, like, bigger artists, when they go on tour, sometimes they just, like, ignore us, and I'm like, "We should
Yeah,
not be ignored because we have, like, so much talent." And, like, especially, like, the Milwaukee scene, I feel like it's so, like, up and coming. Like, there's so many
yeah,
bands here. So I really do try to focus on the Midwest. Not saying, like, if someone from not the Midwest, I have interviewed, like, someone from, like, California. Yeah, he was from California. I'm never gonna not interview someone if they're not from the Midwest, but I really do love focusing on the Midwest because I feel like there's so much, like, untouched talent. Um,
yeah. I would agree with that too. Like, I think, like, from my, I guess, groupie experience dating someone in a band that was in Milwaukee, I remember my own perspective was like, I guess even though like their music wasn't exactly what I enjoyed listening to, one thing I could appreciate was that they were just being creative for the sake of being creative. Like they were just doing it because that's what they felt. And like they would write music just to write music. And I don't know, I really did enjoy that aspect. And even in Chicago now, I find myself, which I will say I'm lucky. One of my roommates is in a Chicago band that plays gigs all the time. So like I'm going to the concerts very often. And they're more like indie folk like that's their kind of style, which I do like that their style a lot too. But again, it's just like now I'm in an environment where like I'm meeting this people from this band and like people from this band, and also I like singing myself. So like there was one show where my roommate was like, "Johnny, come on stage," and I'm like, "Okay," and I just did it because I just did it. So it's just those type of things where I'm like, and I am finding little pockets here in Chicago where it's like, oh, this feels like the small bars in Milwaukee. But one thing I love about Milwaukee too that I have to like give Milwaukee its props for, like I think all of their concert venues and like spaces where concerts play for the most part feels very appropriate to the space. Like it feels like it's for that, which I think sometimes Chicago feels like they try to shove people into spaces that aren't meant for concerts. So it's a little uncomfortable, it's a little too crowded. Like there's this really cool concert that my roommate did at this place called the Red Room in Chicago. And it was really cool because basically it was like a living room converted into a concert space. So it was a cool concept for sure, because the kitchen is right here and I'm sitting watching my friend perform. But then the downside of that is like they packed this room so much, it's like this is not a comfortable space for a bunch of people to come to at one point that feels conductive to like what we can't hear really because there's too many people and the acoustics isn't great and yada yada. I can go on and on and on. Even like I know like Summerfest Grounds for instance always has concerts and stuff there, and I'm like, oh my god, you use the grounds because it's very organized where a lot of people can come at one time and not feel too crowded. But then you go to like Pride Fest here and like Cupcake is performing and like you can't even move through the crowd. So it's like that makes it uncomfortable where it's like I'm not enjoying this. So I definitely think Milwaukee kind of has that like local band scene down a little better than Chicago.
yeah, and I like as I've been growing up, I used to love, like, the you can't move and, like, you're shoved into, like, tons of people. Now that I'm older, I'm like, "Yeah, this isn't really my groove anymore." So, like, a lot of times I'll be in, like, the back of the show, not at the front anymore, which is fine. I love being at the back. And then also, if I ever have the guts to go crowd surfing again, then I can, it's easier to do it from the back than from the front.
I know, I heard your story about you falling on the ground.
Yes, 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 that was but, one day, maybe sometimes I get really close to it. Sometimes I'm like but then I'm usually by myself, and then I'm like, I have no one to hold my stuff.
That's fair.
But
Um, s- I was gonna say, so you're talking about concerts a lot, and I hear that you love concerts, mostly because you told me before you came. So I think I read you've been to over 200 concerts since you're 15.
yeah, me and my friend, that's, like, loose math, but we feel it's pretty accurate because we would go to, like, shows every month, at least once a month. So
Mhm.
that's, like so that's at least, like, 10 per year, at least. So 10 So if you go to 10 shows, I'm 26, that's at least 120. But we've definitely, there's months where we'd be at like 3 or 4 shows.
Yeah.
So we're just like, it definitely has to be like 200.
What was the first concert you ever went to?
So the first proper concert, so okay, the first proper concert that I count as my first concert is Sleeping with Sirens and Pierce the Veil's World Tour, which has a whole story behind it that I got to go because it was sold out and I didn't get tickets. And then my dad
Mhm.
went on Craigslist and bought tickets off of sketchy Craigslist for me to go. But they were real. I did end up going. It was the best time. But that was like my first proper concert at 15 at the rave. It was sold out. It was
The rave.
yeah.
The rave.
But like in 3rd grade, I saw Ashley Tisdale at the mall, but I don't really count that because she only did 3 songs and, like, I was at a mall and in 3rd grade.
It counts. It counts.
Yeah. I just don't count it as, like, my first, like, proper one, I guess. I didn't have to buy tickets, like, it was, like, a free show, like, and then I went to, like, Summerfest too when I was 10. But Summerfest, that's, like, my festival, you know?
Yeah, that's kinda I like, if I count Summerfest concerts, I've been to a lot more, but I
Yeah.
also don't count them because 'cause I'm like, "Marshmello, yeah, I love this song, now I'm gonna go to the Kesha concert."
Yeah.
So, like so I don't know if I can count those either. So I know you feel very, strongly about concert etiquette. You can give me, like, three top things. It's like, when you go to concerts, you need to do this, and this. What are they?
Okay, my 3 top things as of right now, I guess my first thing is just please be aware of your surroundings. Like, I don't want anyone not to, like, get excited and jump around, but, like, when you're jumping around, just, like, be aware of, like, who's around you, like, if you bump into someone, say sorry, like, try not to bump into them again, especially if you're, like, in the back, which is where I, like, stand a lot, and if there is, like, ample room, just, like, try to be aware of your surroundings. I know sometimes it's, like, not always plausible if you are in, like, a venue where everyone is, like, right next to each other, squeezed in, but even then, like, just be aware of, like, who you're by and try to be, like, polite and nice and, like and give people their space if you can, you know?
Mm,
Like, I never want anyone not to, like, jump around and have fun, but just and if you do bump into someone, like, "I'm sorry" goes, like, such a long way. Like, "Hey,
mm,
I'm sorry for bumping into you, like, I'm gonna try not to do it again." But I feel like concert etiquette ever since COVID, like, went down a lot.
yeah.
My second one is don't skip the openers if you can go and watch the openers, like, don't skip the openers. Like, the openers can be your new favorite bands, and, like, don't, like, just be nice. Like, "Look, don't go on my computer, please." Not right now. But just, like, be nice, listen to the openers, like, they're here to, like, show you their music and get you hyped up for the headliner. And then my last one, ever since I know this was like a big thing after COVID, I haven't really seen it since, but Pierce the Veil went on tour with I Prevail, which I Prevail is a really good band, but Pierce the Veil blew up on TikTok. And then I Prevail shows would sell out, but then after Pierce the Veil would play, everyone would leave. So then the venue would be empty for the headliner. Like, please don't do that. If
That
you're
does suck.
Yeah, like, please stay for the headliner. Like, not saying I've never, like, walked out on a headliner, but also they were headliners that I was like, "Nobody's gonna leave for this headliner," you know? Like, and I have to, like, work at 6 AM the next day, so sometimes it's necessary. So I'm not perfect, I haven't seen, like, every headliner, but, like, those shows I just remember because 'cause I'm like, "Those venues are literally empty." Like, I left, like, for In This Moment, and, like, she sold out an arena, you know? Like
Mm.
and I know she has, like, a giant following and isn't gonna miss me leaving, you know? But I was just like, "How" and I Prevail is such a good band. It made me so sad. So those
Yeah, like,
are
put some respect on their name.
Yeah, and, like, just always, like, pick people up when they fall. Don't throw your drinks. I feel like this has been, like, a big one too since, like, COVID. A lot of people like throwing drinks.
Yeah, like throwing things on stage. I remember, like, I can relate to what you said about the openers, just because, like, you also never know who you're going to see that might be big at a certain point later. Like, I remember when I went to see Ariana Grande for once in the concert, and like Little Mix opened for her. And I like fell in love with them. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they're so wonderful. And then Victoria Monet, who was not even popular. This was probably like 2017, 2016, 2017. So she wasn't really popular back then, but like kind of blew up now. I'm like, she opened for Ariana Grande, so I actually did see her in concert like way back when. So like you never know how what the like length of time like this person might be a big person and you got to see them for $25 because you stayed to listen to an opener before the main person or something. You never know. So I feel like you should just treat them with respect, and also like they're gigging, they're usually the people out here working hard to come and like perform for little to no money, and like the least you can do is cheer them on in the crowd and, give them some energy. Get yourself the energy for the person you're there to see as well. I want to like get to your Take Me Back to Warp tour. Like I want to make sure we have
Yeah.
ample time to talk about it. So what is it exactly like and how did you come up with the concept for it?
So, Take Me Back to Warp Tour context, I guess, Warp Tour. Are you familiar with, like, Warp Tour?
I know what it is. It's a big like concert.
Yeah, yeah. So, it was a traveling festival, and then in 2018, it did its last run. Came back this year, but, it did its last run in 2018, and then they stopped doing it. And I was kind of a mess when Warp Tour announced that they weren't going to do it anymore because Warp Tour, quite frankly, saved my life many, many a times. And for my birthday last year, so with Emo Homies, I've met a lot of amazing people. I've discovered a lot of amazing bands. And my favorite band is called Lake Drive, and they are from right here in Milwaukee. Love them. And I was
What a good name for a band, by the way. Like Drive.
I know. They're so good. They're so good. And they're my favorite band, and I was talking to Raven, the lead singer, because he's like they're like big emos too, you know? And I was talking to him and I was like, "Hey, what I like have this idea like for a birthday show, like it can be like Warp Tour themed because I'm Puerto Rican, and when I turned 15, I wanted to have a Warped Tour quinceañera, but my mom said, "No, you're not gonna have a birthday that looks like a concert." And then I plan my birthday every year, like, super in advance, and last year when I was planning it, I just kept thinking of those words, and then I was like, "You know what? What if I just throw a concert?" Like
Yeah, you're like, I'm an adult now. I can do what I want.
yeah. So then I was talking to Raven, he's the lead singer of Lake Drive, and he's like, "I love that idea. It can be like called," and then he's the one that thought of the name, Take Me Back to Warp Tour. And then I was like, "I love that." So then Lake Drive headlined it, loved, great. And then Ally Eyes played, and then Hayden the Poser. And it's great because Warped Tour, for me, it was always about seeing my favorites, but also discovering new music. So that was the whole point of Take Me Back to Warped Tour. Like they were like the bands played like cover songs that you love, but then they played their originals.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like which I love all of their music. So it was great. It was like cool. I just to hear get to hear my favorite music all night. So that's
Mhm.
how it came to be. And then I planned it all. We did it at Falcon Bowl in Milwaukee in River West, and then the bands played, my mom made cupcakes, I had vendors, the bands all had their merch, I had, like, decorations, and I had, like, poster boards with all the pictures from when I was at Warped Tour. It really, like, take me back to Warped Tour because it was, like, so nostalgic, you know? So that's how it came to be last year.
So I know you're doing it for a second year now. What would you say? Is there going to be a big difference from last year to this year? Is there something special you're planning that you like want to tease or talk about?
So it might be a little bit it is different from last year. I don't have any of the same bands playing. It's an all new lineup. We're actually announcing it tomorrow. So that's exciting. The lineup is Gold Steps, which is a local Milwaukee band, they're headlining. Love them. Callback is from Minnesota, actually. So that's really exciting to have like a band from a different state on the bill. Like, that's really exciting. And they're so good. Love them. I've been listening to them all the time since um, I had asked if there was, like, any recommendations from, like, people I knew, and, like, Lake Drive actually suggested them because they're just awesome. Our Vanity is, like, a super emo Milwaukee band, super excited to have them on the bill, and then, my new friend, Lake Homie, he was really big in, like, the hip hop scene in Milwaukee, I believe, but then now he's
Mm.
kind of going more, like, alternative with his music, and I really vibe with it, so I was like, "Hey, do you wanna, like, get on this bill?" And he was down for it. So there's definitely been like a couple more bumps in the road this year with planning just because like I had originally had different bands, but then they weren't able to like do it anymore. But I think this lineup really came together. It's really good. I'm really excited. We're announcing tomorrow on social media. So everyone will see it tomorrow. I'm really excited. And then to promote it, we pass out. So one of like our things as a podcast that we've like been doing since we started the podcast is at concerts we hand out friendship bracelets that say Emo Homies. So
Mhm.
those out. And for Take Me Back to Warp Tour, we are actually making bracelets to hand out, and they're reminder bracelets. So they're gonna say the band name, so like Gold Steps, and then June 13th. So like people can look at the bracelet and be like, oh yeah, like they're playing this day. And so I'm making a ton of bracelets tonight for the bands, and just gonna be promoting hardcore for it.
That sounds really awesome. So it's June 13th
Yes.
this year. Where is it? Is it at Falcon Bowl?
It is at Falcon Bowl again in the Falcon Hall, so the big, because they do the
Mhm.
Falcon Hall and the Falcon Nest, but Falcon Hall is the big one. But I wanted to do it in there because we did have, like, almost 100 people come through last year.
That's awesome.
Pretty exciting.
That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I was gonna say, like, what would you say the biggest piece of advice to people wanting to organize their own event? Because that seems like a big undertaking to like plan this whole thing, get all these bands, invite people. Like, what if you can name like one, like maybe the hardest, and then like thing that people should be aware of that they might not think.
I guess for me, I'm kind of like a control freak. So, like, the hardest thing for me is kind of like collaborating with people and just communicating, which I'm getting so much better at. But I guess just be ready for, like, conflicting things and, like, having to really, because it's, like, I still want it to be, like, Take Me Back to Warped Tour, like, my birthday party, you know? So, like, always, like, stay true to, like, what your event is about. Because like, don't get lost in, like, your no I think I, like, just got lost in, like, the numbers, like, "Oh, I really wanna get it, like, promoted right now, and, like, I wanna make sure we get, like, enough people so, like, the bands get paid good and, like, all of this." But I think, like, as long as you stay true to, like, your core of what you want your goal to be, which is just mine is just to, like, have a good birthday, hang out with, like, all the people I love and care about, and have a good time and build a community, everything's gonna fall into place, like, after that, you know?
Yeah, that's good advice. I feel like, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. If you like if the goal is to just, this is what I want to do for my birthday, this is how I feel fulfilled, the pieces will fall all into place where they need to fall after that. So, like, yeah, I love that because I think sometimes people can get caught up in like the numbers, the people, all
Yeah, like,
these
all the
things.
details, and I'm like, "Okay, like, these are important because 'cause I've had, like, a lot of hiccups this year that I had to, like, overcome a little bit, and it was really hard for me to, like, get through those obstacles, but I did. There's a lot of tears, but now I'm like, "You know, why am I Rook
Now, Rook is also the guest on the podcast this episode.
is she's such a queen." But, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about now. Oh, like
The hiccups.
yeah. And I think I was getting, like, so hung up on them that I was like, "This isn't fun anymore." Like, this is supposed to be fun for me and, like,
Hmm.
for my birthday, and, like, it's not feeling fun, so I literally had to, like, take a step back. I was like, I have to take a step back and, like, reevaluate and do some self-care and just, like, figure out next steps. And then once I did that and kind of reset everything, I was like, "You know what? Like, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be okay." And you know what? It has been. Like, everything tomorrow is gonna be great with the announcement. I'm really excited. The poster looks amazing. Shout out to Walt. My friend, he's a tattoo artist in Milwaukee at I forgot where, Bayview Tattoo. So he does a lot. He, like, redrew the poster for me, and I just wanna make sure he does work at Bayview. I'm, like, blanking on that, but shout out to Walt because he literally Bay Street Tattoo.
We love Walt. Walt is amazing.
Yes.
I actually I can't wait for the announcement because when you were saying it, I was like, oh, I think my roommate might actually love something like that. So maybe I haven't been out in Milwaukee in a bit. Get a little crew to come out there just for a few concerts. That sounds fun.
Yes, please come, it's gonna be so fun, and there'll be cake again, my mom's making cake, so
I love cake. I love cake. That sounds like an easy thing. Before you go, I wanted to do some quick rapid fire questions. Um, so number one, what's the best concert you ever been to?
It's actually happened to me 2 weeks ago. I saw on or, like, 3 weeks ago now? Couple weeks ago. Honest Ave, Damian Styles, and Z on the No License tour. The energy was just immaculate, and, like, seeing 3 people that really just started out like me, like a normal person, and really are out there living their dreams. It was just a beautiful thing to see and hear because they all put out really good music.
What was the most chaotic concert you ever been to?
The most chaotic when I was thinking about this question, I was like, "I don't even know," but I think it was Sad Summerfest when water parks did their set because and this was after COVID, and I, like, have seen mosh pits and stuff before, but, like, that pit, I don't even know what was happening. It was crazy. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was chaotic. Chaos.
Mhm. I was gonna say mine. I won't say it was chaotic, but I was really sad because I went to an Avril Lavigne concert and she didn't sing "Keep Holding On," and I was devastated. I walked away and I was like, "I am so devastated that you did not sing my favorite song by you." Uh, what do you think the most underrated band? This is kind of open-ended question. I feel like not very specific, but you can take it how you want.
Yeah, so this one, I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, "Most underrated band," because 'cause I'm like, "That's really hard." I think so I have a couple. I think r I and this is totally just my opinion, I could be wrong, but I feel like Real Friends, they're from, like, Chicago too. Real Friends definitely, I feel like, deserve more props than they're given, they're so good. Also, like, the new age emo bands that are coming out, Warped Tour has, like, a bunch of amazing bands on it, like Honey Revenge, Lolo, Beauty School Dropout, like, all these new emo bands that are coming out, like, deserve their props too because 'cause they're really good. And then just, like, your local bands, like Lake Drive, I really been into this band called Pine Creek Academy, like, I think they all just, like, deserve way more props because Pine Creek Academy isn't from Milwaukee, they're from, like, Pittsburgh, I think, or something, Pennsylvania. They just randomly came on my Spotify one day, and I was like, "I love this."
People need to pay more attention. I think my favorite or my most underrated band, I think I'm a little biased, but I think my roommate's band is great. And people should listen to Holly with 2 eyes, because they're really cool and Chicago bands and yeah. I wanted to get so I this is a hot take that I wanted to get your take on. What do you feel or what is your hot take rather on, like, resellers, like ticket resellers, like people who hike up the prices for tickets?
I hate I want the downfall of Ticketmaster so bad. I hate, like, all, like, the bots and people and, like, the scammers buying them because that's just you're already paying a lot for the ticket, and then to have I think it's horrible. I hate it. I want the downfall of Ticketmaster. I want to go back to, like, the old days. You had to be ready, and if yeah, I don't know, Ticketmaster can just go and, like, all the resellers.
Yeah, I almost, like, feel like they should either eliminate the option to resell tickets, so, like, deter people from, like, hiking up the price where, like, 1, people can't afford them, but also Ticketmaster isn't making the money from people reselling their tickets. The resellers are making the money, so, like, honestly, at the point, it's like, it'll be more lucrative for you to set a price and not let it change. Like this is the price for the ticket because it just sucks when like you. I mean, I using Beyonce as an example of like her tickets were already super expensive, but now the reselling tickets are like almost double what they were, and it's like that sucks. Like people already can't afford the regular price. What makes you
Yeah.
think they want to play the reseller price? It really grinds my gears. So I was like very curious about as a concert goer and what you thought. But I agree. Let's pray for the downfall of TikTok not TikTok, Ticketmaster.
Yeah, like, the Ticketmaster and, like, the resellers, it's all, like, very intertwined. I watched, like, a 15-minute TikTok about it and how, like, it's killing small venues, and it's just so sad, and it makes me really mad.
How do you feel also about people who go to concerts? I think it's kind of a hot button topic. Specifically, which I like, do you think concerts should have seats or should they always be standing room? What is your opinion? If they are seated, should you sit? Can you stand? What do you think?
I think this is such a hard topic because, like, I don't mind standing, but sometimes I do like, now that I'm, like, getting older, I'm like, "Dude, I would not mind a seat right now." But,
Yeah.
like, I love standing, I love jumping around. It's more of, like, the in between that gets me, like, when you have to wait, like, for the bands to, like, set up, it's like, "Dang, wish I had a seat right now." But I love standing room. Like at the rave, you can do both, like, you can get VIP and sit in, like, the balcony, you know? But I will never pay for VIP because it's I'm just poor. And I go
It's also the rave. Like, do they need a VIP at the rave? I don't know. I was gonna say, like, I also feel in the middle because, like, in some instances, like you said, like a seat would be nice, but also I think standing room, like, it's a little more weirdly, it's a little more intimate when you can, like, get up to the stage and, like, really vibe out to the concert. But I also don't think it's fair for people to get upset at people if it's a concert with chairs, if people are enjoying it and is standing up because, like, let's give the artist energy. Like, they're up there performing. Like, stop being such a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, that I feel the same, like, if it does have seats and I'm standing up, please don't get mad at me, like, I'm just
Yeah.
have a good time.
I'm just here to have a good time, or like, let me sing along, let me dance, like, leave me alone. Like, you're here, you're doing the concert the way you want to, and I'm doing the concert the way I want to. And I guess my last rapid fire question is, are there bands that people should check out? I think you kind of give us a little hint already to like your underrated bands, but do you want to add any more to that list?
Yeah, so I guess just in general, check out your local scene. You can find your new favorite band literally in your backyard. So that's like my number one advice. Check out your local scene. Some local peeps and like Midwest peeps I want to shout out. Lake Drive, of course. Gold Steps, who's playing Take Me Back to Warp Tour. When the Sun Sets, they're from Chicago area as well. They're super good. Mighty Vices, they're from why am I blanking? They're not from Wisconsin. They're from a different state, and I'm blanking on which state. And then Pine Creek Academy, because I've been obsessed with them for like 2 weeks. Just not.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, where can people find you to keep up to date on like Take Me Back to Warp Tour and like your podcast episodes?
Yeah, so I think the best way I mostly use Instagram and Facebook at your emo homies. Instagram is, like, the main place, and then Facebook kind of gets tailed off of Instagram. Do have TikTok too, but I don't post on there a ton. And then we are on Spotify and Apple Podcast for, like, everywhere you find your favorite podcast.
So this is a little surprise segment. So basically, the last person on the podcast, I gave them the task of asking the next podcast guest a question. So I'm gonna ask you their question, but then I'm gonna ask you to ask the next podcast guest a question as well. So their question was, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
So I think this kind of starts with my job. If I wasn't doing my job, have, like, in my career, I'd probably be doing this, like, as a full-time career, like, event planning, like, booking shows, like, I'd probably wanna, like, turn like, emo homies would not be a hobby, it would be my career, if that makes
Mm. I love that. No, that's a great answer. And then what question, it could be anything you want to, what question do you want to ask the next person. It can be as specific as you want to, it can be as open-ended as you want to. You decide.
I feel like I should ask, what is your favorite song right now?
What is your favorite song right now? Great. Writing that down, whoever that next guest is, you're gonna know like what their favorite song is. And what is your favorite song right now?
My favorite song right now is probably a tie between Bad Guy by Pine Creek Academy and Don't Call by Lake Drive.
Nice. Mine, I've been obsessed with Hempstead by Ariana Grande. It's just so good. I listen to it every day. I just like repeat, 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 repeat. Do you have any final last words to all the emo kids at heart that you want to share before we end?
Emo, it was never a phase where you're an emo forever, I feel like. And I love that about being an emo kid, even at heart. But I feel like I'm always an emo. But it was never a phase. You're never alone. And please come take me back to Warped Tour because it's going to be a great time and it'll be nostalgic and be so much fun.
Perfect. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on the podcast. I feel like time always just flies back so quickly. But I appreciate you coming and talking to me and just sharing space with me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so fun.
And thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.
Your typical podcast. Your typical podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to Your Typical Podcast. If you like what you heard, please give us a review. You can comment. You can leave 5 stars. Like, I would love that. We need them. We need them. We need them. You can find Your Typical Podcast on Instagram at YouRTypicalPodcast. And if you want to be a guest, send us a DM. We want to have you on, and you can talk about whatever you want. See you next time.
Your typical podcast. Your typical podcast.